Hello, I'm doing a movie review, and the movie I want to review is Society. Now, Society came out in 1989, and this is directed by Brian Yuzna. Now, Brian Yuzna also worked with Stuart Gordon a lot. He actually produced Reanimator, and he also directed the two Reanimator sequels, Bride of Reanimator and Beyond Reanimator. He also directed Return of the Living Dead 3 and The Dentist and Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. Now, the best way I can describe Society is if Bret Easton Ellis did a body horror film, then it would probably be something like this movie. Now, Bret Easton Ellis had nothing to do with this movie, but this film does have kind of the feel of a Bret Easton Ellis novel, so imagine if, like, David Cronenberg and Bret Easton Ellis teamed up to do a movie, it would probably be something like this movie. Now, the plot of Society is it's about this teenage boy named Billy Whitney who comes from this very rich family, but he never really felt like he fit in with his family, and he starts to feel like his family is kind of out to get him, and he really feels like he can't relate to his parents or his sister, and he's seeing a shrink, and the shrink's telling him that there's really nothing wrong with him. It's perfectly normal for a teenager to feel alienated from his family, but throughout the film he starts to realize that something is not right about his family at all, and something is also not right about the people that his family associates with. And in the film, his sister's ex-boyfriend is trying to tell him that there's something not right about his family, but then something happens to him later on in the movie, which I don't want to give away. But basically, the whole idea of this movie, and this is a minor spoiler, but the whole idea of this movie is, what if the elite in our society are actually not human beings, but what if they're actually these creatures that take on human form, and have lived among us, possibly since the dawn of time? In that sense, it's actually very similar to John Carpenter's They Live. Like, the whole idea that the rich and the elite in our society are not human beings, but are these creatures that feed on human beings. Now, in They Live, the creatures were aliens, but in this film, you never actually find out what these creatures really are. All you know is they have apparently existed among humans for pretty much as long as humans have existed. Now, Society is an awesome movie, and what I really like about this movie is it's kind of a mixture of a couple of different genres. It's a black comedy, it's a sci-fi horror film, it's a social satire, and it's also kind of a paranoia thriller. Like, a lot of this film deals with the paranoia that the main character Billy feels towards his family, and to me, that's the scariest thing about this movie. Like, to me, the idea of all your friends and family actually being out to get you and conspiring against you, to me, that's a really scary idea, and in that sense, it's very similar to Rosemary's Baby, which also touched on themes like paranoia as well. But once again, the whole idea of people that claim to care about you actually being out to get you is a horrifying idea, in my opinion. And the film is very much a social satire on class systems and the idea of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, and this movie kind of takes the phrase, the rich feeding on the poor, to a literal extreme, and the whole idea of this movie is, what if the rich in our society are not even human, but are part of a whole nother species? But once again, Society is a great movie, and is a really brilliant mix between black comedy, social satire, and body horror. And this movie also has some great makeup effects and great special effects from Screamin' Mad George, who is a special effects artist who did effects work for A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and I think he also did effects work for Predator as well. Now, when this movie came out, I don't believe it did too well, but the film has garnered a cult following over the years. Now, apparently, a few years ago, there was talks of them doing a sequel to this movie, but unfortunately, a movie sequel to this never happened. However, there was a two-part comic book series called Society Party Animal, which acted as a sequel to this movie, and this DVD set actually comes with that comic book. But yeah, that's my review on Society. If you haven't seen this movie yet, I definitely recommend it, and bye.